what people call a quantum shift. And quantum just means you're shifting your identity, you're shifting into a greater version of yourselves. But what people call a quantum shift is not just some magical jump. It's actually what happens when your nervous system feels safe enough to move into a new version and identity of yourself. But people don't understand that that nervous system safety is crucial, and I'm going to explain exactly why. But first, my name is Azur, and I am a nurse and spiritual healer. I help worried women emotionally regulate their nervous systems so they can manifest the lives of their dreams. So, if that's part of your journey, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Now, when your nervous system is overloaded, when you're stressed, when you are exposed to the same boring environments time and time again, what begins to happen is your brain moves to an efficiency mode. So it essentially turns into a robot. It doesn't allow for new identities or new ideas or anything like that. And then your nervous system is in a survival mode. But what you can do to break this is actually expose your brain and expose your nervous system to new experiences. Because if you don't, what ends up happening is you think the same thoughts, you have the same predictions in your life, like you keep running on this same hamster wheel. But what you have to do is step into discomfort and step into novelty. Now, here's what happens to your brain when you expose it to something different, or like a trip, taking a vacation or moving to a new state. Yes, those are uncomfortable, especially if you're doing it solo. But it's exposing your brain and your nervous system to something novel. Now, what happens is when you're on vacation, when you're in a new place that's exciting, your brain will activate dopamine, and that encodes it and lets your brain know that this is important. It's an ex important experience. And basically, you're running on that dopamine high for could be a week or two even after you come from vacation. And then your hippocampus is in charge of memory. Because it's so important, it will store that in very important fun moment and encode it and store it in your information chamber. Basically, it will help you to remember that moment. But when you combine these two, this is why a lot of writers or creatives will go and take a sabbatical and go, study abroad. Why? Because there is some sort of novelty there. So the writer has more insights, more downloads. The artist has more creative ideas because that dopamine, it says, hey, this is really exciting. It's basically an imprint that you are putting on your brain and your nervous system. And then your nervous system is moving out of survival mode. Why? Because it's exciting. It's a reward. Think about the last time you did something new or exciting or took a trip. How did you feel then? You felt amazing, right? When you pull yourself out of the same cycles that you keep on playing and the same patterns and the same, basically, what you're doing when you're doing something uncomfortable, when you're doing something that is out of the ordinary, what you're doing is giving yourself a preview of what you could be, the identity, the version of her that has everything, the love, the money, the good job, the good business, whatever it is that you want in your life. But you have to be uncomfortable. A little bit of risk. I know this all too well as a nurse who decided that I wanted to be a healer and started reading tarot cards and went solo out of the country. I'm learning new languages and I'm doing something that is out of my comfort zone. It's that there's not so much structure, there's not so much certainty, right? Sometimes I don't even know where the next place that I'm going to go to, that I'm going to travel to, or I'm even going to live sometimes because I'm still a little bit of a nomad. But what I'm doing is exposing my nervous system to the fact that, hey, we may not know exactly what we're doing, but you know what? We are safe. And when you are safe, it can elevate you. It won't pull you down. Your nervous system, your brain won't pull you down so much. So I encourage you to start to do something novel that is new for you. Yes, it could be taking a trip. It could be, taking up a new hobby. It could be perhaps public speaking, something that takes you out of your comfort zone. And you will find that when you disrupt that pattern, it actually, even if you end up hating the thing, you will learn something. I'm convinced that you're going to learn something that's going to change your life, that's going to upgrade you, that's going to quantumly shift your life. Now, I also know that it's important to be rooted in nervous system safety when you're doing something new, which is why I have a whole suite of science-backed nervous system rituals and downloads. I even have a nervous system soothing reading. Also an intuitive reader. So I will link all of that down below for you. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below and let me know if this resonated with you. Bye.